Hello Photoshop students, today we're going to paint this car and we're going to give it any color. The first thing we're going to do is to duplicate the background and disable the first layer. We're going to use the quick selection tool to make a quick selection of the car. We have to make sure we have everything also here and the lights and around the tire, that everything is nicely in the selection. And now we're going to do Control J and we're going to make another layer. And here we're going to adjust the pieces that are not nicely done. We're not going to do it very precisely because this is a tutorial. But anyway, we're going to make it nice. We're going to zoom in a little bit. And we're going to use the lasso tool. And now we're going to use the eraser tool. We're going to do Control D to deselect it. Maybe here yet a little bit. Do again. Do again the erase tool. And we're going to remove it. Control D to deselect, and around this tire we're going to zoom in, and this we're going to do by hand like that. And now here we're going to use the lasso tool again. And erase it. Now we're going to use the lasso tool to remove all parts that don't need to be painted, like the light here, this one here, radiator, the windshield, and the back windows. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to take our lasso tool and we go nicely around it. It's not going to be completely perfect, because if you want it to be really perfect, it's gonna take a while. Now we're gonna do Control J and we're gonna copy it to another layer, and we're gonna name it windshield. We're gonna select layer 2 again, and we're gonna start with the back window. We're going to do Control J again, and we're gonna call it side window. Select the second layer, and we're gonna do this one. We're gonna do Control J, and we're gonna call it back window. We're gonna zoom out again. For this part, I'm gonna use the quick selection tool. For the lights, I'm going to use the quick selection tool also. Here. I'm going to first save this selection by doing Control J, and I'll call it lights. Now we'll do the tires. I'm going to select the other tire. We're going to do Control J, and we're going to save the layer, and we're going to call it tires. Now we need to do yet this radiator and below here. gonna copy the layer and we're gonna call it radiator. Select layer 2. And now this small piece here, and this one. Okay, now we have all parts that don't need to be painted. We're gonna put them in a group and we're gonna call them car parts. We select all of the layers, we do Control J, and this is group 1, car parts. We're going to make a smart object of this car parts map and layer 2. Convert to smart object. Now we're going to add in our first background. So we're going to move it to here. We're going to create a clipping mask. We're going to put the car parts over the image. Create clipping mask. We're going to change blend mode to overlay. We can play with this. You see we have your color dodge, screen, lighten, darker color, but I will choose overlay. It looks the nicest. We'll take our next background. We'll move it. I will unselect this and I will create clipping mask. And now we're going to choose again overlay or screen. Overlay. Screen. We can also adjust opacity. If we change the opacity, it looks less harsh. We'll add in another background. Clouds. We're going to move it to our car. I'm going to deselect this layer. I'm going to create clipping mask. And now we have ski resort. I'm going to change the blend mode to screen. Lighten, it's nice also. Screen, color dodge. We can change the opacity. We can also add in our background to see how it looks on the background. And we can do fire and silver. Here you see it better that we didn't cut out very carefully the light and radiator. So here you see it, and here it's not nicely done. So to redo this is fairly easy. The only thing you have to do is remove this layer, radiator, and lights. But I'm going to clip it back in, and I'm going to disable it. I'm going to disable that, and I'm going to return to my layer, to the main layer of the car. I'm going to deselect the background, and I'm going to make another selection of the lights and radiator. And then I'm going to change it with the other layer, and then to look nicer. So we're going to grab our quick selection tool and make a selection. We can adjust the size here. Now it's on 7. I'll put it a little bit smaller because those are very tricky parts here. It looks better. So I'm going to do copy, Control J, and I'm going to call this layer lights 2. And now radiator. Now we're gonna reselect layer 2 and we're gonna take on the radiator. It's even on 3 and he selects this whole piece. So to remove pieces we do Alt and then we can go inside and this I want to remove. I'm gonna take the lasso tool. It's not gonna work with that. It's not gonna be nice. So we'll do Control D to move the selection, and I'm gonna take the lasso tool, and now it's gonna go faster. I'm gonna do Control J, and I'm gonna call this radiator 2. So now we're gonna add those 2 layers to the group car parts. Just move them into the group. I'm gonna make it visible again, and I'm gonna make our old radiator and lights invisible. So now we will see the difference. I will zoom out again. Now we're gonna check how it's gonna look with our new lights and radiator. So now it looks much better. It's not gonna be perfect, but the picture is not perfect either, so that's how we can change the color of any car. We can add any background we want, and we can select the background. We can add any picture we want, and so we can change the color of any car once we selected it carefully, like this one.